after Chris Middleton and Giannis combined for 68 points. And Milwaukee's starting lineup scored 100 of 104 points. Kevin Durant, coming off his epic performance at Game 5, led the Nets with 32 points and 11 rebounds. Game 7 will be Saturday in Brooklyn. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard joins us now. Chris, what a game last night, and who doesn't love a Game 7? So who you got? Who wins it?
Jen, I feel very confident that the Brooklyn Nets will win this game. I am not the least bit deterred by what happened last night. I thought the Brooklyn Nets lost because they didn't play with any sense of urgency. Credit to the Bucks. They went inside finally, and they played fairly well. But Brooklyn played horrible basketball. And I think they played like a team that knew they had Game 7 at home in their back pocket. I'm not saying they went out purposely and did that, but in their subconscious, they just didn't have that do-or-die mentality that they're going to have in Game 7. So I think Brooklyn wins it. Obviously, they've got the best player in the series, the best player on the court, and that's Kevin Durant. I think he will go for 40-plus. I'm not saying he does what he did in Game 5, but he will have a huge game and go for 40-plus points. And James Harden, who I think when he came back in Game 5 was, I think it was about 15% of what he really is. 15 to 20%. I think last night he was about 45% of who he is. And then I think in Game 7 he'll be able to be, 60 to 65% of who he is. He clearly can't let it go. There were opportunities for him to fast break, and he just slows it down. He clearly doesn't want to just go all out on that hamstring, but he is a smart player. He's a very skilled player, so I think he'll be able to play a strong game. His best game yet since he's come back, 20-plus points, 8, 9 assists, something like that. And I think one or two of the role players, whether it's Blake Griffin, Landry Shamet, Jeff Green, maybe Joe Harris, who's fallen off the face of the earth these last 4 games, but somebody will step up to support the 2 stars, and the Nets will get the win. On the other hand, Giannis is going to do what he does. He's going to give you 30-plus points. He's going to give you 15 or more rebounds, and he's going to miss free throws and jump shots. Chris Middleton was awesome last night. And I said this fully as a compliment to him. I don't know how people take it. But he looked like a poor man's Kevin Durant last night. And I mean that in a good way. He was great, but he has been a different player on the road. He's 30 points, 53% shooting at home in this series. He's 18 points, 32% shooting in Barclays Center. So I think he comes back to earth and the Nets prevail.
Chris, given that, even if KD goes for 40, that's still not enough to win the game unless one of these role players. Because even if we're looking at that historic moment, it took Jeff Green going 7 of 8 from 3. It took Blake Griffin chipping in with 19 points. If you look at it last night, yeah, he had to work harder. He took 7 more shots and had 17 fewer points, but he still was 32 and 11, but he got no one to come along with him for the ride, and they got blown out. But here's the other thing, Chris. It's not like they're going to grow any taller. They still got no rim protectors. Milwaukee could win the game, could blow the Nets out by not shooting a jump shot. They can get whatever they want in the paint, Chris. You see Holiday goes to the rim at will, and he'll shoot a step back on off-balance 3 just because he can. You see, I'm looking at Giannis. Giannis, come down, lay it up. Come down, bang, lay it up. And then all of a sudden, he's shooting step-back jumpers. I'm like, Giannis, did you forget that you just scored 6 points by laying the ball up and dunking it? Why would you even think about attempting it? But I will say this. He didn't even attempt the 3 last night, Chris. 11 of his 15 shots came at the and he drew 8 fouls. That's the recipe. They got nobody to protect the rim. James Harden can't stay in front of Holiday. Joe Harris can't stay in front of Holiday. Who do they got to try to guard Chris Middleton? Nobody. They can get in the paint, get whatever shot they want. They don't have to settle for the 3. Well, they did. They weren't like the 5th best three-point shooting team. I get all of that. But why do I need to throw the go ball even though I'm good at it if I could just turn around and hand it up to the running back and he get me 9 yards a clip. Bucks, all you got to do is just go inside. Just drive the ball and get the ball, dunk it, lay it up, do whatever you want. That's all you got to do and make KD work. But the question is, Chris, what type of legs is KD going to have? He played heavy minutes Tuesday night. He logged another 40-plus minutes last night. How much can he load? Hey, and plus, he was minus 25 on the court. He had the highest plus minus, the lowest plus minus of anybody on the court.
Okay, I think it's my turn. Back to my friend Chris Broussard. You just knocked me out of my chair with what you termed James Harden's percentages, that he was 15% in game one, and he went all the way up, or in the first game he played, and went all the way to...
That's not sourced.
Okay,
Yeah,
your source told you he was 45% last night.
That's not sourced. No, that's not sourced. That's not sourced. I'm just looking at it myself.
No, I'm kidding.
That's what I see.
I'm kidding. Yes, I got you. My eyes, my two eyes, and my TV, maybe I got to get a new TV. I'm still looking at a black and white TV. I can't compete with Shannon up there in his palatial estate up in Bel Air. But my eye test last night told me he might have been 15% in the previous game 48 hours earlier. Last night, he was 10%. He went backward. He lost mobility. He lost confidence in his hamstring. He was even more of a liability as a playmaking, creating ball handler than he was 2 nights before, and or just as big a liability on defense. I've never seen anything like it, where a man played 46 minutes on an improving, healing hamstring and lost confidence in it, and played 40 more minutes last night and couldn't move. And if we could just see that first play that happened with 4:26 left in the first quarter, when he took the ball out of Giannis's hands and had a breakaway solo swoop to the hoop. Here he goes, and he's off to the right. No, he's not. He said, no, I can't do that. And he turned around and dribbled backward and let everybody pass him so that he could go down and walk it in and set up the play. Chris, it got so bad last night that Kevin Durant was bringing the ball up and had by far his highest usage rate in all of his playoff history. 45% of the time the ball was in Kevin's hands. He was creating and dribbling the ball up. He was doing everything to a fault, because once they hit mid-fourth quarter, when they cut it all the way down to 5, he hit the wall. He was not there for him when they needed to continue to make their run. And then they cut it to 5 and give up a 14-0 run to the home team, and that was ball game. But my point is, James had the ball in his hands last night 18%. It's by far his lowest usage rate in a playoff game since Oklahoma City, when he was obviously just the 6th man. So to me, I made a big bet yesterday with Shannon. I thought they could win last night, the Nets at Milwaukee, but I had a backup plan, which is Game 7 back home. I had that in my back pocket, and now I don't love it, because I'm afraid James Harden is going to be the shell of himself he was again last night. I know he made 3 threes, but Chris, it looked like he was having to like heave them, you know, like shot put them to get them to the rim, because he doesn't trust his hamstring to even push off on step backs, you know, feet on the floor set shots. So I don't love it, man, because I'm afraid KD's going to have to go all-time KD again for them to survive.
Well, you showed the highlight, and he knew. I don't know who the buck was at the top of the screen.
I think it was Middleton.
I think it was. He wasn't going to get away from them. He could not have beaten them to the basket on that bad hamstring. Not to mention, I think he feared, yes, Drew Holiday and Middleton, that, you know, he could pop it if he goes all out. So I understand it, and obviously he doesn't have that burst. But what I liked was the shot that you mentioned, the 3 threes. He went from 5 points to 16 points. He still gave him 7 assists. For your average player, if he gives you 16, 7, and 5, we're like, hey, we'll take that. So I think him shooting it better showed me he had a little more strength in his legs. He was feeling a little bit better. And that's what I'm looking at. And I think, Shannon, because I've heard a lot of this, that the Nets are spent, that, they've gone too many minutes. KD played the full game 5. They're done. They're tired.